I was when Saurabh telephoned me yesterday. I was thinking of because I am to go somewhere at 5. So I thought my instant reaction was to go for a negative reply. But as I cannot say no to this young boy who was not born when I knew him, knew his father and mother. Both of them are so intimate friends, advisors to me. So, well, friends, I must tell you, I'm so happy to know that Professor Nalini Prabhat Tripathi, the professor of finance from Indian Institute of Management, Shillong, is addressing to our students and us today. It's really, and she'll be talking on a subject in which she is an expert. She is a professor of finance. She has written a lot of books on finance. I think more than 8 books on finance I have heard, and more than nearly 100 research articles in various national and international journals. In fact, somebody who was my friend and uh, who was vice chancellor of the university of which she was a student, Utkal University, Professor Ellen Mishra once told me about her. But I had never met her. But just now, a few minutes back, I discovered my mentor was her uncle. And he was the only person, professor of physics in Delhi University those days. To be a professor of physics when Delhi University was widely known throughout the world in the field of physics, particularly. And we, 3 persons, joined Delhi University. I was the worst student, art student, and 2 other persons. One was a topper of BSc Honors of Orissa, #1 gold medalist, and another was Professor Mahapatra now in USA. Another was Professor Sahu. And third was K.K. Panda, who was a useless person, joining arts political science department. Anyway, I'm so happy that Professor Tripathi was my guardian. And now today I'm honored to have to chair a meeting in which Professor Nalini Prabhat Tripathi is speaking. I know a lot about her. Without meeting her, I can say that really we are all lucky to have it. Now I will not stand between you and my friends in the audience, and I will request Professor Saurabh Agrawal, the principal of the college, to give a formal introduction of Professor Tripathi. Professor Saurabh Agrawal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I am glad to welcome Professor Nalini Prabhat Tripathi, Professor of Accounting and Finance, Indian Institute of Management. I am Shillong. She would be speaking with you on financial development and economic growth nexus, Indian experience. Before I take up her profile, I'll just share a small presentation on our college and brief you about our college. So, IF College of Commerce was established in 2016 under the leadership of Indian Institute of Finance, and we are an affiliate college of Chaudhary Charan Singh University, formerly known as Meerut University. We have BBA and BCom degrees. BBA is offering 36 papers in 6 semester, and BCom program is offering 20 papers, and it's still in annual mode. BCom is meant for those people who are planning to do CA, CS, ICWA, CFA with a tough curriculum and focus on professional programs. BBA is more practical and managerial oriented, not so much in depth, but focus on practical application. suitable for those who are planning to do CFA or MBA. The admission portal is currently open. Students can log in there. And admission is strictly on merit based on their percentage in 12th. So this is our campus in Greater Noida, Knowledge Park 3. We are located very close to Sharda University. We have been fortunate to receive many distinguished scholars at our college and institute. Professor J.L. Gupta, former Professor Simrit Kaur, who is currently the principal of SRCC, she was here at our college. Professor Anil Kumar recently spoke on career opportunities in BCom and BBA. He's a professor at Shri Ram College of Commerce. Welcome to our library. We have a very beautiful library housing more than 55,000 books and 900 technical journals. The students at IIF and IIF College are mandatory, have to spend 1 hour daily in library with strictness. We have books in English and in Hindi to be able to serve all population. There's a journal section. This is the project section. This is our computer center. We also house an indoor gym, TT table, cross trainer and other facilities for recreation. We are fortunate to have a very distinguished managing committee headed by a father figure, Professor J.D. Agarwal, Professor Preeti Chaubey, former professor, Indian Institute of Public Administration, Professor Aman Agarwal, Mr. Saurabh Sharma, who is manager in EXL, Mr. Deepak Bansal, who is the treasurer, Dr. K.K. Panda is with us, and is largely known, Professor J.P. Sharma, who was former Dean, Delhi School of Economics, Advocate Sunil Goyalji, Professor A.L. Nagar, former professor IIT Delhi, Dr. Manju Agarwal, former principal Motilal Nehru College, University of Delhi, and Shri Harshvardhan, MD, Red Springs. This is our managing committee, which takes care of the governance. We are fortunate to have two departments, Department of Commerce, having full-time 4 faculty members, and Department of Management, having full-time 3 faculty members. And apart from that, I am the principal. We keep on organizing plantation drives. We planted 100 fruit-bearing plants in our campus in Greater Noida in 2019. We also keep organizing plant visits of students. I would like to speak here with you brief resume of Professor Nalini Prabha Tripathi, who is currently professor in the area of finance and accounting at Indian Institute of Management, Shillong. Prior to IIM Shillong, she was an associate professor of finance at IIM Indore. She obtained D.Litt degree in MBA from Utkal University. She received UGC fellowship for full-time and postdoctoral research award in MBA in 1999. She is a Fulbright scholar to visit USA. She also received advanced research training from IIM Calcutta. She has 28 years of teaching corporate research and consultancy experience. Her area of interest are corporate finance, business valuation, investment banking, financial services, financial engineering, financial market, and corporate strategy. She's an active researcher. Her work published in ABDC, Scopus, and Web of Science journals. She is author of over 90 scholarly research papers. She is an author of 8 books. Her current research interests include financial economics, corporate finance issues in emerging market, business valuation, stock and derivative markets, risk management. She has conducted numerous corporate training programs on a wide-ranging finance topics and management topics for senior level management officers from public, private, and government organizations. She is on the editorial board of many international and national journals. She is also a member in the reviewers panel of various international journals. She has produced successfully 5 PhD research scholars. She has evaluated more than 50 management PhD theses in diverse areas. She was also the international PhD examiner. She has invited as a panel speaker in different international and national conferences. She has presented research papers in international conference at Seoul, Colombo, New York, Sydney, Dubai, London, Oman, Boston, Paris, Singapore, and Malaysia. She was the visiting professor of Build Bright University, Cambodia. She was also the visiting professor of IIFM Bhopal, IIM Ranchi. She was the international conference scientific members of various international conferences. She's an expert panel member, selection committee of NITs, central universities, leading private institutions, public sector undertakings, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. She is also on the Board of Governors, Academic Advisory Board, and Board of Studies of Business Schools and Universities. She is also member of various professional bodies. She has conferred MMSMA Award for Excellence in Commerce and Business Management by Indian Commerce Association. She has been awarded membership of Global Research Institute for Business Academics, Australia, in recognition of outstanding achievement and contribution to the body of knowledge in research. She has conferred Distinguished Faculty Award jointly by the Indo-Global Chamber of Commerce, Industries, Agriculture, and Confederation of Indian Universities. She has awarded AIMS TAPMI Women Management Researcher Award by AIMS International. She has received gold medal by AIMS International for AIMS International Outstanding Management Researcher Award. She has received silver medal by Association of Indian Management Schools for JL Batra Best Research Paper Award. She was the former Dean, Alumni and External Relations, former Dean Research and Accreditation, former Chairperson of PGP, former Chairperson of MDP, former Chairperson of Research and Publication. She was former editor of IIMS Journal of Management Science. Madam, it is a great honor for us that you have given us time. We look forward to listening to you on this very important topic, particularly in the time of pandemic. I think our room is already full. We have a capacity of 100. A lot of people are going to see us now on Facebook Live. Already 100 participants have joined. So, ma'am, over to you. We look forward to hearing your views on the topic. Thank you again for accepting my humble submission for making this question.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon to one and all, and distinguished Professor Panda and Professor Saurabh Agrawal, and all the dear participants and the dear students. At the outset, I must thank to Professor Agrawal for giving me this opportunity to talk about my topic, which is already published, that is your financial development and economic development nexus, Indian experience. Of course, in pandemic time, my research work was pre-pandemic time, but of course, we can also have a discussion how we will take forward, how this financial development and economic development is integrated and how it is contributing for the development of our economy. Thank you, Professor Saurabh Agrawal, for giving me a brief, a lot of introduction about me. I do not know what I have did. You have asked about to send me the brief CV, so I have sent. I was not expected to you will spoke about the details about my CV. And I am also thankful to Professor Panda for getting to know you in this virtual platform. It was really opportunity for me to meet you, sir, here for the intellectual persons, professors like you here. And I hope everybody, those who are the participants here, I believe we will have a very good lively discussion on this economic and financial development nexus here. So since Professor Saurabh has already spoke about my topic, which I am going to discuss about today, that is the nexus between the economic growth and financial development. And I believe you must be knowing that, I mean, the nexus between the economic growth and financial development continuously discussed in the economic literature for the last 3 decades. It has been a topic of interest for the academicians, researchers, and also policymakers. The issue is that whether financial development influences economic growth or economic progress influences financial development. I'm not saying this is the new work, but of course, there's a lot of literature available on this issue. And most of the economists, most of the, the researchers, given their different views on this. There is a lot of research study done on this issue. The important question is that rumbles in the mind of many researchers whether there exists any interrelationship between the financial development and economic growth. Yes, of course, as you know, financial development is essential to economic growth, and economic progress requires an efficient, sound financial system. Rather, I can say both are complementary, supplementary to each other's. Financial development is essential, and also economic progress requires an efficient, very good financial system. If I recall, some of the leading economists, like must have heard about the Goldsmith and McKinnon, they have given their opinion that finance is an essential component for the growth of an economy. And a better developed financial system reduces the transactions, informations, and monitoring cost. It also increases the efficiency of resources allocations, and in turn, it leads to growth. And we also know that a well-developed financial system promotes the investment opportunities. It encourages the mobilizing the savings, enabling us the trading, monitoring the working of managers, and also for the hedging activities and diversifying the risk. An efficient financial system, if you are having a good system, good financial system, it also offers improved financial decisions, supports the better distribution of resources, and thereby accelerates the economic growth. If I would like to say, there are 3 types of hypotheses has been developed in our economic and financial development literature. So there are 3 types of hypotheses has been developed concerning to the economic and financial development literature. And one is your supply leading hypothesis, and your demand hypothesis, and the feedback leading hypothesis. And they have also given a very good observation concerning to the financial and economic development here. The supply leading hypothesis, they have it postulated that the financial development is having a positive impact on economic growth, and financial development raises your savings and facilitate the capital accumulations, leading to the economic growth. And another very renowned economist, Schumpeter, also debated, also points out that the banking system is the crucial factor for economic growth because of its role in the allocation of the savings, funding for its productive investment. Also, the Schumpeter suggested that sound financial sector promotes research and development, promotes domestic production, hence it leads to economic growth. It leads to increase the economic growth. And some of the economists also, they have given their, expressed their views that financial development is essential for achieving high economic growth. On the contrary, the demand following hypothesis, they argued that those who are supporting to the demand following hypothesis, they have argued that economic growth causes financial development, and it was debated that growth of the financial sector increases with the demand created by the economic growth of the country. So they have given, they have taken a lot of research and a lot of data and a lot of research, and they have told that economic and financial development, if you're talking about financial development, is very important for economic development, but the demand clearing hypothesis, they have given that it was growth of the financial sector increases when the demand created by the economic growth of a country. The third one, the feedback hypothesis, given their viewpoint, those the researchers who are supported to the feedback hypothesis, they have given their opinion that there is a bicausality presence between the financial development and economic growth. Economic growth causes financial development, and financial development causes economic growth. So both are complementary and supplementary to each other. The feedback hypothesis supports both the supply leading hypothesis and demand following hypothesis. So most of the empirical evidence, if you look at most of the literature, or the study which has been made, most of the empirical evidence, the individual country analysis, or you can talk about the broad cross-country comparison, or you can talk about even farm level analysis and even the industry level analysis. And these findings, they suggest that there is a positive association between the financial development and economic growth, with the exception of some studies. Some studies do not believe there is a relationship between the two, or the financial development and economic development are interrelated or integrated. But most of the studies, they have given financial development and economic development are integrated, or there is an interrelation between the financial development and economic development, except some of the studies. However, these findings do not establish a concurrence about the direction of causality between the two. In fact, over the past 3 decades, these studies are presenting conflicting views. Whether financial development has an impact on economic growth, or economic growth explain the development of the financial sector, researchers found mixed empirical evidence. Whether finance is important for the economic development, whether economic development is necessary for the financial development, if you look at the literature, and you will find the mixed evidence. Most of the researchers found mixed empirical evidence. In this context, it motivated us to explore further research to determine the relationship between economic growth and financial development of the Indian economy. Our study is expected to extend the prior research and provides new insights about relationship of financial development and economic growth process. Today, if you look at India, considered as one of the fastest growing emerging economies in the world, further, many global players are carefully assessing the performance of the Indian economy today. Hence, the present research was undertaken to study the relationship between financial development and economic growth of India to provide sufficient information to the global investors. Keeping on view, the objective of my research was to find out the long-run association or long-run relationship between the economic growth and financial development in India by using the autoregressive distributor lag bound testing model. And I have also used the Kusum test to validate whether they are having the stability of relationship between them or not. So for my research study, I have taken the time series monthly data from June 2003 to February 2008. I have taken the data from June 2003 to February 2018. And the selected study period comprise boom period, financial crisis period, a recessionary period, and experienced a new political regime in the economic and financial sector development. Of course, our study is pre-pandemic period. Our study is pre-pandemic period. So to achieve this objective, to find out whether the financial development and economic development or economic progress are interrelated or not. So we have taken many variables here, and we have taken some variables proxy for the economic development and proxy for the financial development. So we have taken proxy for economic growth and financial development. Proxy for the financial development, we have taken the bank credit, bank deposit, BSE census, BSE volume of trades, and BSE market capitalization are used for proxy for the financial development. The reason is that both banks and the reason for taking all these variables, which is a proxy for financial development, is that both banks and stock markets are playing a very significant role in India for financial development. Normally, financial development captured through two perspectives. One is financial depth, another one is financial efficiency. Financial depth measured through savings and deposit. What is the savings culture and deposit culture of our banks? The banks plays a very, very dominant role and useful role in promoting financial development by mobilizing the financial resources of the community and the markets, which is available for the investment in the productive purposes. And the banking system helps channelizing of the funds from savers to borrowers in an efficient manner. Further, bank credit, if you look at the bank deposit, and further the bank credit increases the speed of the process of economic development of the country by providing loan to the industries in time. On the other hand, economic growth encourages credit expansion through its demand for financial services. The relationship between, if you talk a relationship between the bank economic growth is of practical significance in policy making. The second one, I have talked about the financial depth and financial efficiency. The financial efficiency is the ability to perform as a principal role of transforming deposits to credit. As all of you know, the performance of the stock market is a signal for the growth of the overall economy. Normally, we used to look at what is the stock market. The census is growing or is coming down. If the census is up, we are having a very good perception that the economy is good, because since it is a barometer of our economy. So always we are looking to the census here. If the census is up, we are having very positive perceptions. If the census is going down, and immediately we have perceived that the stock market is not good and the economy is not in a good sign. So the development of the stock market facilitates channelizing savings into productive investments, which lead to an increase in economic growth. Usually, is the stock market growth examined with the market capitalization and the BSE census. Normally, if we are talking about what is the market capitalization of the stock market right now and what is the census. So these two parameters is extremely important. And BSE census included the top 30 companies and measured as an indicator of the growth of the overall stock market. BSE offered various services to stock market participants and reached to the investors around the globe. Similarly, if the volume of trades is high, it is an indicator of stock market development, since stock price need volume to move. Most volume of transaction will be more, means it is also giving a very positive signal the stock market growth is there. And the high volatility of the stock price arises because of the volume volatility and the trading activities in the market. So for the proxy for the economic growth, you may ask why other lot of economic variables are available and why I have chosen. The reason also I have given here, the proxy for economic and the index of industrial production. Though the various macroeconomic variables are available for taking the proxy for the economic growth, but I have specifically chosen the index of the industrial production, which measures the changes in the volume of production of industrial products and the growth rate of industry groups. And it shows the status of industrial activity, such as industrial activity has improved, declined, or remained the same. Indian IIP, Index of Industrial Production, mainly focuses on our manufacturing sector, mining, and electricity sector, with the most significant weightage is given to the manufacturing sector, that is more than 75%. It also focuses on use-based industries, that is called the basic goods, capital goods, and intermediate goods. And the objective of Index of Industrial Production is to capture the direction and the trend of industrial production of the country. The basic objective, the basic objective of Index of Industrial Production is to capture the direction, which way it is moving, and capture the direction and the trend of industrial production of the country, which in turn has an impact on the policy decision making of our country. So that is the reason, that is why I have chosen the IIP as a proxy for real economic growth. I have also taken two control variables. So one is the inflation and export to import ratio to observe the strength of the association between the financial development and economic growth. If you will take the control variables, and it will give you what are the strength of relationship between these two variables. So apart from when the regression or when any kind of econometric modeling, or when any kind of we are taking the multiple regression analysis we always took the control variables to determine whatever the variable is taken, the dependent variable and independent variable. In addition to this, we always would like to take the control variables to find out the strength of relationship between the dependent and independent variables as well. So I have taken here two control variables. One is your inflation and the export and import ratio, to observe the strength of relationship between these two. And the idea of using control variable is to establish a correlational relationship between the variables by enhancing the internal validity of the variables which I have taken for the study. The study has considered the consumer price index, the CPI, the consumer price index, as the measure of inflation. Inflation is one of the most important parameters concerning policy decision of our Indian government. The reason of taking inflation is that changes in inflation influence economic policies to tighten that lead to increasing the nominal risk-free rate and affects the bank. Inflation rate raises the price, lowering your purchasing power. It also lowers the value of pension savings and treasury notes. Interest rates on loan increases during the interest rate on loan normally increases during the inflation period. Since loans get costlier during the increasing of the inflation period, the cost of capital for the company increases. And higher inflation can also impact exports by having a direct impact on input costs, such as the materials and labor cost. So the efficiency of the financial sector gets worse due to the high rate of inflation. When the labor cost and material cost becomes high, it will have adverse impact to the production. And if the production rate will be high, it will have an impact on the price of the goods, so which will be a cost to the consumers like us. So the efficiency of the financial sector gets worse due to the high rate of the inflation. Inflation becomes too high, the economy can suffer. On the other hand, if the inflation is controlled and at reasonable levels, the economy may prosper. So with controlled, it is always with controlled and lower inflation, the employment always increases. Consumers have more money to buy goods and services, and the economy benefits and grow. And inflation is taken as a proxy for the consumer price index, as I have told you earlier for my study here. The second variable, control variable, which I have taken for my study is that the ratio of export-import ratio. The ratio of export-import defines the trade balance of a country. So it measured by dividing the value of export of goods and services by the amount of import of product and services. The importing and exporting activity of a country influences GDP, the gross domestic product, and its exchange rate and its level of inflation and interest rate. The importing exporting activity of our country is mostly influenced to our GDP. It influenced to our exchange rate, influenced to a level of inflation, and influencing to our interest rates. So the reason is that a rising level of imports and a growing trade deficit can have a negative effect on the country's exchange rate. And weaker domestic currency stimulates exports and makes imports more expensive. And alternatively, a strong domestic currency hampers the exports and makes imports cheaper. So the devaluation of a country's currency can have a huge impact because the value of currency is one of the biggest determinants of the nation's economic performance and its gross domestic product. So reason for taking these variables to find out their impact on economic financial development. So these are the variables and control variables I have taken for the study, and also the reason for taking also I have explained you right now. The methodology, as I have told you, I have used because the ARDL model here, but because I have taken the time series data here, and much you must be knowing because most of you are the researchers are also here. Much financial, you must be knowing the financial time series are non-stationary. So therefore, before modeling any relationship, non-stationarity must be tested. So I have also tested the stationarity or non-stationarity of my variables by using some of the unit root test to check the presence of unit root here, and also further to check the multicollinearity between the financial development and economic growth. Our study also used the correlation methods to test the relationship between them. And another most important thing which I would like to share with you here, since there are a large number of interrelated variables are there, so we have used the principal component analysis, which is used to reduce the data set, but this still contains most of the information in the large set. Hence, the study restricted to BSE usage as a proxy for stock market development. Principal component analysis is very often used to reduce the dimensionality of the large data sets. But whatever the data has been taken, if the reduced data has been taken, but it contains most of the information in the large set. And as I have told you, I have taken the ARDL model here, and several latest research studies indicate that most of the research studies indicate that the ARDL approach is more superior to the conventional co-integration technique, since it allows the co-integration relations to be estimated by the ordinary least squares once the lag order of the model is identified. Therefore, it does not require the pre-testing of the variables included in the model for the unit root test, because stationary variable, if it is a non-stationary, you can use the Johansson co-integration test. If it is a stationary variables, then you can use the ARDL model here. There is no need to use, you can easily use the ARDL model here. And ARDL bound testing approach, which deals with the combination of the short-run dynamics and the long-run dynamics, or long-run or short-run equilibrium relationship without losing any long-run informations. So that is why in our study we have used the autoregressive distributor lag bound testing approach to determine or to find out what is the short-term relationship between the financial and economic development, and what is the long-term relationship between the economic and financial development here. And one of the most important features of ARDL model is that it avoids the potential bias associated with unit roots and co-integration test. And in the ARDL model, autoregressive model, AR means autoregressive. Autoregressive means the concerned variable is assumed a function of the past values. I repeat, please listen to me. ARDL model means autoregressive means the concerned variables is assumed a function of the past value of itself and the current and past value of other variables called distributed lag. ARDLs are normally represented with the symbolization of the PQ. You must have learned P and Q. The P represents, your P is talking about the several lags of the different variables, and Q is talking about number of lags of the explanatory variables. So on the basis of this, then I have used, and my analysis is very interesting results I have been find out here. And to validate your ARDL model, the F test is very important here. I have also, finding F test, F statistics, which is determine the long run co-integration relationship between the economic development and financial development. So there are two critical values taking here. If the F value is more than the two critical values, then it will indicates the long-term relationship between the two variables. So by using all these models, I would like to briefing you about my findings. The correlation results indicates or give correlation results indicates that a very robust relationship we have found between the growth of IIP and BSE census, IAP and BSE market capitalization, and the bank credit. And the reason is that why there is a robust relationship between all these variables. So the reason is that due to increased production and investment activity, which typically financed by borrowing from the banks. So therefore, if industrial production and capital spending are rising, there is an increasing in the banking sector growth. So if industrial production increases, investor and stock market becomes more optimistic because companies' performance increases, which ultimately lead to increase in the country's economic growth. So IIP, in my study, the industrial production, the index of industrial production is negatively related with the bank deposits, BSE volumes of trade, export to import ratio, and inflation. So what is the reason behind it? Why it is a negative relation? So the reason the reason may be an increase in inflation leads to rising price, declining the purchasing power of the money, reducing the consumption pattern of the consumers and the economic growth. Fluctuation, the other reason could be the fluctuation in the exchange rate is an essential factor that affects the economic performance of our economy due to its impact on output, import, export price, interest rate, and inflation rate. So depreciation of the domestic currency is distressing to the industrial output, increasing the cost of imported raw materials, and which can lead to doubling the cost of production and increase the unit cost. So if the unit cost will increase, it makes manufacturing uncompetitive, which may ultimately lead to reducing the industrial output of the farms. So that may be the reason, that is why it is negatively related. And similarly, in my study, inflation is related adversely to BSE census, BSE market capitalization, BSE volumes of trade, and bank deposits, bank credits, and export-import ratio. So the reason is that inflation curves consumer savings, spending, and corporate profits. That is why it is negatively related. The negative relationship between the inflation and bank deposits attributed to the fact that inflation increases the cost of living. People need more money for expenses, hence more withdrawals, and it will lead to a reduction in the level of deposits. BSE census, which is also negatively related to bank deposits, bank credits, and export to import ratio. So our study indicates that increasing investor savings in banking activities affecting the stock market price. Normally, you might have seen when the bank increases the deposit rate, and we, the passive investors, always would like to invest in the bank and do not want to take risk to invest in the stock market. So which I'm talking about here, if the bank will rise up the interest rate, deposit rate, and most of the passive investors would prefer to invest in the bank rather than invest in the stock market. So increasing the investor savings in the banking activities affecting the stock market price, because there is less number of only the aggressive investors would like to invest in the stock market, which when the investment pattern of the consumers or the investors will be low in the stock market, which will adversely affect to the stock price, and stock price will be coming down. To overcome the problem of the multicollinearity problems, I have tested, as I have told you earlier, to overcome the multicollinearity problem, and I have used the variance inflection factors, so VIF, and the result, the analysis shows that there is absolutely no multicollinearity problems arises or happening among all the variables in my study here. Since there is a So as I have told you earlier, I have used the principal component analysis because a large data set we have taken to reduce the data set. But if you will take the proxy for the financial development, it will also cover up many things here. So BSE census is the leading indicator which normally demonstrator, which normally displays the variation of dependent variables, and the study restricted to BSE census as a proxy for the stock market development here. And very interesting result we find out here, and by using the ARDL model, our findings indicating that there is a presence of long run relationship among economic between economic growth and financial development, and suggesting that financial development growth leads to economic growth. And the ARDL test, the empirical findings also indicating that there is a presence of long-run relationship, and suggesting that the financial development leads to economic growth. And our analysis also provides very interesting results, that is the stock market and bank credit. The stock market and bank credit are positively affecting economic growth, while bank deposit, inflation, and export-import ratio negatively influencing economic growth. The reason is that the bank credits are positively related to economic growth in the long run. So, my analysis also gives very interesting result. If the bank credit increases to 1%, economic growth increases to 19%. If the bank credit increases to 1%, our economic growth increases to 19%. So the reason is that an increase in bank credit increases the demand for production of goods in the economy. So which in turn leads to augmented the borrowing, increased consumptions, and positive impact on the economy. And another also, result, the analysis, our analysis also shows that or indicates that 1% increase in stock market, 1% increase in stock market growth leads to boost economic growth by 5%. If the stock market growth is increasing 1%, it is leading the economic growth increasing by 5%. So the reason is that it may be. So higher industrial production in turn implying higher demand, increasing farm sales, and generate better profits. Hence, economic growth has a direct influence on the rise of stock prices and a positive effect on financial development. It means higher industrial production leads to higher corporate sales and profit, which directly influence the increase in the stock price. So that may be the reason. So that is why that it is positively related. So industrial production, if it is higher, then your corporate sales and profit is higher, and which will have a very good influence to the increase in the stock price. And that is also very common. If your production is high and your sales is high, profit is high, and it will have a very, very positive impact on the stock price. So my study also shows the same result here. So the increasing production activity is usually financed through the bank borrowings. Hence, the growth of industrial production is having a positive influence on the banking sector development. So it is also, I'm talking about, if the banking sector development is there, then the industrial production will be more, because most of the companies are taking loan from the banks So if the companies are taking the loans from the bank borrowings are there, the growth of industrial production is also having a positive influence on the banking sector development. And our analysis shows 1% rise in bank deposits leads to decrease the economic growth by 9%. I repeat, my analysis shows, you can also have a discussion on this. The bank deposits leads to 1% rise in bank deposits leads to decrease the economic growth by 9%, indicating that what is the reason? What it it shows that bank deposits move in the opposite direction during the weakening of the economic growth. Normally, what happened, if the people will save more in the bank, normally during the weakening of economic growth, the bank deposits will be more here. The weaker economic growth leads to reduce the short-term interest rate. If the economic growth is weak, if the economic growth of the country is weak, it leads to reduced short-term interest rate. You must have seen during the last 2 years pandemic time, and economic growth was not to that level. So what happens here? And the interest rates are decreasing. You must have seen the monetary policy. Even also, I have written a couple of articles on the monetary policy. And during this last 2 years pandemic time, you must have seen the basic point has been reduced by the RBI time to time, and the interest rate is also has been decreased. So another very interesting the findings our studies exhibits that the economic growth related negatively to inflation and export import ratio, and our analysis indicates that 1% increase in inflation leads to a decline in economic growth by 6%. So inflation, if it is increasing, it doesn't show, it's not very favorable to the economic. So economic growth is decreasing by the 6%. So increasing inflation, decreasing the purchasing power of money, which I have spoken to you earlier also, which reduces the consumption level of the people, economic growth, which I've told you. When the inflation goes up, the interest rate hikes causes the liquidity squeeze in the market, and which will be result in less spending in the economy. So what happened? So demand will fall in the market, supply will less in the market. It induced a less industrial production, less long-term financial activity, and decreased the economic performance. So that is why we always debated inflation should always be kept under control, and strengthening the banking system following an effective monetary policy, which also last to the pandemic time, which the RBI is trying to do that. Similarly, the growth in the value of the exchange rate reduces the economic growth. This may be due to the increasing inflation rate, increasing interest rate, and weak domestic currency and high import price. And our result also, analysis shows a very interesting results that the 1% increase in export-import ratio in India lead to decline the economic development by 0.3% only. It is 0.3% only. So this adverse effect is maybe due to imports are more than the value of exports over the sample period. Export has a direct impact on domestic investment. But the influence is not able to transport economic growth due to increasing trends of the imports here. So our results, our analysis also indicates that there is a presence of a short-run relationship between the finance and economic growth is there in India. And export-import ratio and inflation is having a negative relationship with economic growth in the short run as well, whereas the stock market positively influenced the economic progress in the short run. And the bank credit has a positive and a significant impact on economic development in the short run as well. The reason is that the bank provides credit to various productive sectors of the economy and uplift the priority sectors, which raises income and provides employment to the people of lower income group and improving the economic activities of the nations. So our analysis also shows that 1% increase in stock market development, increasing the economic growth by 1% in the short run. If you look at the short run, if 1% increase stock market, which leads to increase the growth of economy at a rate of 1%. So Indian inflation India's inflation and export to import ratio increased by 1%. Economic growth decreased by 37%. You will be surprised to know when the export import ratio inflation is increasing by 1%, it will have a very adverse effect to the economy. And that means it is decreasing by 37%. So, and our analysis also shows that there is a unidirectional causal relationship running from financial development to economic growth. Hence, our studies suggest that financial development leads to economic development and supports the supply leading hypothesis. As at the very beginning, I have told you the supply leading hypothesis and demand leading hypothesis and feedback hypothesis. Supply leading hypothesis talking about the financial development is extremely important for the economic growth, whereas demand leading hypothesis talking about the economic growth created the demand for the financial sectors or financial development. But as per my analysis, which I have taken the variables, we support the supply leading hypothesis. When you are financially developed, your economic growth is also going to be, economic development will be there. So we observe a very healthy relationship between the economic and financial development. So, but however, still I'm saying, though financial economic development is having a long-run relationship, it is a good sign, and still there is some scope need for improvement as economic growth unfavorably interrelated with bank deposits, inflation, and export-import ratio. So, in terms of policy implications, controlling the inflation rate becomes significant for financial development. The export-to-import ratio is also significant implications, and also, I mean, some kind of actions is need to be taken for the export and capital formation of the economy. The the increase in capital formation leads to a rise in exports. If the capital formation is more in our economy, it will rise to the exports, thereby rising the industrial production of the economy. So I'm talking about right now how my study is contributing or helping to the policymakers, and how it is helping to the investing community and companies at large. So it is a significant contribution to the policymakers, investing community, and also the farm level. And since there is a positive long-run correlation, indicates to take steps for development of both economic and financial sector, and how does the company is going to be benefited here, how it is important for the companies here. It is important for the companies, the corporate sectors, because companies need to source the production activity by bank borrowings, which not only increasing the output, generating the employment, diversifying the revenues, and rising per capital income, but also increasing the foreign exchange earnings for the economy. If industrial production increases, there will be a related increase in the service sector as well. Higher industrial production implies the higher demand, which will lead to higher corporate sales, greater profits, lead to rising stock price of the companies. Therefore, the policy makers of the government should uphold the harmonized development of the bank and stock market activities for the economic growth. How does it help to the investors, institutional investors, and portfolio managers and foreign investors to take a very pertinent investment decisions to minimize the risk and also maximize the profit, or earn the profit, or maximize the profit, enhance their investment worth by considering all those macroeconomic variables. And this study, my findings also provides information to the market regulators to take some kind of steps for supplementing the economy, by considering the improvement in the functioning of the macroeconomic variables and nourishment of policies to stimulating the financial growth to attract the international investors or global investors to our country. For the policymakers' point of view, definitely the study will give some kind of input, that means how industrial production, how the bank, how the stock market, how the economy, how the export, import, and inflation is related to each other. So policymakers need to aim at financial sector deepening and increasing access to credit lending to enhancing the economic performance. So financial deepening is playing a greater role in transferring the created funds to the real sector for economic growth policies. Policies should be complemented with strategies to enhance the efficiency of the real sectors of the economy. So definitely, I believe because since it is a very related, very important for the economic progress point of view. So our thrust is right now the development of the financial sectors. And it is also very important for the policymakers to balance the macroeconomic policies to increase the savings culture and which can feed investments in the economy to advance the efficiency of all production activities of the country. If savings accumulate, it will create demand for goods and service produced in the economy, which ultimately increase the bank credit. If the savings will be more, and definitely a good number of huge number of credit will be given to the industries. Another contribution of the study is that it is high time for the policymakers to understand the investment lending dynamics and not the mortgage lending dynamics. I repeat, it is very important to understand the investment lending dynamics, not the mortgage lending dynamics, to boost the economic growth, particularly in the long run. And financial lending not only having long-lasting effects on economic growth, but also in turn, economic growth will promote the development of the banks and the stock market. Precisely, the result of our study add to the knowledge of the Indian economic growth nexus between financial progression of our country to foster the economic and financial development. It's very important right now to take suitable and harmonizing action required by both firms and policymakers. And it is also important for the global investors to look at the policies of India before making any investment in India. However, I have also decided to take forward my research study in the future by taking some kind of other variables which will be included in my study, and also, of course, some kind of other advanced model I could able to use it here to find out the volatility. I mean, whether the transmitting the economic variables transmitting to the financial development of the country is not. I've thought of to take off other future studies also. This is all about my the study which I have did it. These are my interesting findings which I am talking about too. So it is open to the floor. It can be discussed. So this is all about my discussion, the financial and economic development nexus and growth of developments. Professor Saurabh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I think if there are any questions, please raise your hand.
Yeah.
If there are any questions? Yes, Padmakant, please unmute yourself. I'm is a fellow student at the institute.
Yeah.
Student.
Yes, please.
Yes, please unmute yourself, Padma. We are not able to hear you.
I can hear everyone. Yes, Padmakant, can you hear me? I can hear you.
Please unmute yourself, Professor. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mishra.
Inflation is how it is mostly affecting the economic development. Mild dose of inflation is always necessary for economic growth. A small amount of inflation, 1% inflation, now it is going for negative economic growth rate. Because we have studied in economics that a mild dose of inflation is always necessary for growth of the economy. Can you elaborate on that?
There is a cost pull inflation and a demand pull inflation is there. So inflation I'm talking about for my study, because sometimes if the high level inflation is there, it is not at all good for the economy. So I'm talking about even if a low level of inflation, that is also not a good for the economy. So we should have a hybrid of these two. And if you are saying inflation, if it rises, so the purchasing, my viewpoint is that the purchasing power will be very low here. So because the price of the goods will be high and the consumers, the buying capacity of the consumers will be low here. And you see when the buying capacity of the consumers will be low and demand is more in the market. I mean, demand is low in the market, supply is high in the market, which is not good at all the company's point of view. It will have adverse effect to the economic growth. That means demand is, supply is high, but demand is not there. So in that concern, that point of view, I'm talking about inflation is leading to lower the economic growth. If your industry is lowering down, if your production activity is lowering down, and it will have an adverse impact to the economy. So that point of view I have talked about. Inflation is reducing, it is having an adverse effect. High level of inflation is having an adverse effect to the economic growth. Are you clear, Professor Misra?
Yes,
Are you getting
yes,
what I'm saying? Are you
yes,
getting
yes,
what
madam.
I'm saying?
Yes, yes, madam.
Yes, anyone else would like to ask question, if they can kindly raise their hand so that we can unmute them. Yeah, Mr. Narayan, if you can kindly ask a question. Kindly
good
open your
afternoon,
video
ma'am.
as well.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. How to gain a huge knowledge in financial development and economic growth, ma'am? I am studying in third year, so I want to get knowledge. Can you help, ma'am?
There is a lot of literature is available, and that means if you can, even in Google also you can search. Lot of literature is available. Apart from this, the most important is that if you want to have a research study on the Indian point of view, and we have to find out which variable is extremely important today for our economic growth or financial growth. And literature, you see why there is a conflicting results is coming up, conflicting views are coming up fast. The conflicting views are coming up, and this may be the one reason, because the various researchers are taking different types of variables. So that may be the conflicting results are coming up. More or less, most of the researchers, they are taking also the similar type of variables. So getting literature it is open right now, and I think the EBSCO is available, Scopus is available, Elsevier is available, Science ResearchGate is available. So there is a lot of platforms are available to get all kind of materials. So you can read all these things, that you could have a knowledge about the economic and financial development nexus. I hope I have answered to your queries. Narayan,
Yes,
Professor
yes.
Narayan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we now go to Mr.
Sanjeev Kumar.
who wanted
Yeah,
to ask
Sanjeev.
a
Yes,
question?
Sanjeev. Yes.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. Actually, this is the area which I am approaching for my research. And I am, reading a lot of literature from past 1.5 years.
Yeah.
But, when I discuss this area from some of the very prominent professors in the various institutes, so when I ask them, is that area still be considered as a PhD thesis? So most of them have told me, what are you going to add to this, already over-researched area? So my point here is that, ma'am, could you please suggest me if somebody is planning to work in that area, which is already too much research, and as the dimensions are changing year by year, and it is also creating further scopes for this many researchers. So I just want to ask you, how can we justify our research or our studies in front of those professors who just say this is already proven that financial development contributes too much to the economic growth? So what new you are going to come up? So how can we answer such queries if so many professors ask?
Yes. The most important is that It is not like that okay, everyone will be taking the new study, and those who are previously already the research has been done, we don't want to do. And there is always, if there is a will, there is a way out to find out. Even though a lot of research has been, lot of literature have been studied on financial and economic development, there is always a scope for improvement, and you can do micro level research. You can do the micro level research. You see, and if you are economy students, you must be knowing there is a different growth theories have been developed. I mean, if you talk about from the Marshall theories, the classical theories, neoclassical theories, lot of theories have been developed, isn't it? Something like the one or two things adding there, and that is a new innovative work. It is not like that you cannot innovate anything, and there is there is a scope for improvement is always there, and there is a lot of models. Or if you see, there is a lot of prediction model is also introduced. And if you look back last 1 decade, 10 years back, whatever the model is available, and every year, each year, the model is also developing, and more new input is also developing. If you talk about the financial services, fintech, immediately it is a new innovation. Similarly, you have to look at new other variables. You have to take into account. You can do the research study on this. There is always a scope for improvement. It's not like that whatever is studied and it is ended. It is ended. That doesn't mean we do not take into account this will be a research. And there is always, you have to take what they studied and what new innovation you will come up with this. By taking all these variables, you can come up with new innovations. What new variables you can take it. So I don't think. Yes, of course, we usually talk to our students also, take the new area and do, and don't take it what is already the research has made. But I don't think so. Still, there is a scope of improvement is there. That means if you would you like to say whatever the research has been made, that is ended there? No, definitely no. Definitely no. There is always a scope for improvement is there. You can take new variable. Technology is introduced. You see the banking sector, the technology is introduced. And today we are sitting and we are doing every work. You see the technology development when we are doing the virtual meetings and everything. 2 years back, it was not there. Did you get my point? So that means every time the new innovation is coming up, there is always scope for improvement, new variables, you can take it, micro level study, you can take it, and you should come out with new things. Why not? You should come out with new things.
Any other questions? Maybe we can take one or two more. I understand we are pressing hard with time. We were supposed to finish it at 4, but if there's still some more questions, I can see a lot of interest being generated by Professor Tripathi's talk today. If there are any other questions, then we can certainly take them, one or two more. I do see Mr. Arun Mittal, who is the AGM for State Bank of India. Mr. Mittal, would you like to ask some questions?
One question was that Madam has expressed that the FD interest rate will increase the economy by 9% effect. How it is possible?
Sorry.
Can you... rate of interest in fixed deposit is higher, then the economy will be affected by 9%, 9 times.
In the rate of
interest on deposits.
If the at the end you must have you must have heard about me. I told if the deposit culture will be high, if the more and more savings will be high, then more and more credit will be facilitated by the banks, where the companies could take the loans. And I talk like this. For the short-term time, in my study, which talked about this, so I have explained there, but the very end, I have told you, at the policy decision point of view, if the savings culture will be more, it will have a very positive impact on the credit culture of our country also. Savings will be more, then only you, the banking people, can learn more.
We have more opportunity to finance.
Opportunity to finance more, and it will have a very positive impact on the industrial production. Industrial production will be high. It will have a positive impact on the stock market, and more facilitation of the stock market will facilitate the capital formation for the economy. So it is a very positive impact, and ultimately it will lead to increase the economic growth of our country. I'm talking about the financial development is extremely important for the economic development. Maybe you can argue on this, but because my study is talking about the financial development leads to economic growth. So that is why the debate is always going on. So I have given my
You explained very fantastically. You explained everything. I would just want to link this thing, the point and the economic growth. You have now explained it very well.
Thank you so.
I think it will be helpful to your students also.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Professor Panda, I would like to add something, and or we give a vote of thanks. What would Professor Panda say?
I think it's such a, actually, as a layman, while listening to Professor Tripathi, I could understand the way she explained. We require actually more and more professors of such type in our universities. In fact, to start with, I was thinking the topic is very difficult. How could there be? There has been a lot of complaints, a lot of criticisms in the newspapers these days about the linking of economic growth with financial policies. But the way she explained things over an hour, it's really very beautiful. I'm only grateful to her. If she can teach me as a layman, I have understood it. How about others, those who are in the this area particularly? She is an asset to our country.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, I am a small person here. Still, I am learning, sir. Still, I am learning. I am a small person. Still, I am learning, sir.
No, this is good. The way you have analyzed it, I hope this goes to the down level, the grassroots level in the different universities and colleges. The way you have explained, I feel, actually, I will not say that Professor Saurabh is doing really an immortal work. This is the way. I have been attending, some lectures of Professor Saurabh of the Institute of Finance, and the way the things are improving, the way it is being presented by various speakers, this will be really an asset for the country as a whole. Thank you very much, madam. Really, we need more and more persons like you.
Thank you.
Now, I think, Saurabh, we can go for, if there is no more question, we can go for vote of thanks, I suppose. Professor Aman?
I would request Professor Aman Agarwal, who is also of IIT College of Commerce and Management and Associate Editor, Finance India, and Director, Indian Institute of Finance, to kindly propose a vote of thanks.
Vote of thanks.
Thank you, Saurabh. I'm sorry my camera and the laptop is not working, and I had to quit from my mobile because there were more participants wanting to join. So I wanted to give them an opportunity to join and benefit from the conference going on today. But I'd like to share two things before we go ahead. Professor Tripathi has made an excellent presentation from one of our recent works, which actually got published in Finance India, June 2021 issue. So I thought I'll just, if I'm given a time by Saurabh for another 2 minutes or so before I propose the formal vote of thanks, to kindly just present the brief of the paper. And in any case, one is welcome to read through the journal. This is in the recent issue for Finance India, June 2021. As you can see, this is the paper we are talking about, which has been published. And this paper came out. In fact, this paper was presented, submitted to us in 2018 or so, I think. Let me just check.
Yes. IIT conference, IIT Kanpur.
IIT Kanpur, is it?
Yes. IIT Kanpur, yes.
Yes. And let me just show you the paper here. I have the paper, yes. So this was the financial development in economic growth nexus. It's a very complex issue, as she, although she explained it in a very subtle and a simple manner of the kind of exhaustive work she has put through with her student, I believe, at the IIM Shillong. And as she's heading the Dean Research, she can understand the complexity which comes. So you can see when you read through the paper, you can go through it. It looks at a long-term data for almost about 15 years, 14 years, and uses various statistical techniques to go about evaluating this complex issue. As you rightly pointed out, you can always have ways. One of the doctoral students I remember asked, that how should you go about expressing your interest. You see what happens, I also sit on a large number of DRCs of various universities, and one thing which I get to see in many of them is that they make their topic too broad. And I think that is something which they need to rectify. When they're conducting a study, they need to specifically mention as to what are they doing. So many studies actually focus on a focal area, but then the title becomes too broad and it becomes difficult for even a guide or a professor who is evaluating it as to what exactly is the student talking about. So if you are able to make it specific, as rightly pointed out by Professor Tripathi, then you can actually, so I'll just brush through this paper soft copy. In any case, as I said, this paper is available in the Finance India June 2021 issue as one of the lead papers. And as you can see, it's been extensively literated and reviewed. A lot of work has been done, and some of the basic equations I'll just run you through in terms of what she has presented in a very subtle manner. In fact, some of the tests which she conducted. And these are some of the results which you actually expressed and talked about. So these are the results of the credit casualty test. So as you can see, the conclusion talks about the fact, the way financial development and economic development and economic growth has actually been going through in the country for a span of over 14 years. And these 14 years are critical because we have seen large number of downs and upturns, not from a political perspective, but more from an economic perspective. The global financial meltdown, which happened in the United States and Europe, which happened in 2007 and 8, was almost in the middle of the period she has considered. And also the post-IT bubble bust, which took place in the US way back in 2001, had a major impact on the way things were going on and was reflective both in India, even in the United States, in the period of 2002-2003. So that has been there. And then we saw the global financial meltdown and the kind of debt rise which took place at the end of 2008 in India, having a repercussive effect way back in 2012 to almost 14. So all that has actually been captured by her data and her study. So this is interesting results and interesting study from the perspective that it looks at difficult time zones, both from a global perspective and from an Indian perspective, and brings out the basic crux of what has been happening, basically presenting the Indian perspective here. But we are living in a global village, so to think that we can be secluded and nothing will happen from what's happening around the world. There are contagion effects which take place, which have been studied by me and a couple of other authors at the Institute, and which have substantial impact on how the economic growth, the financial development, and even the people's growth in terms, because I personally feel that we talk of all these big numbers of GDP, GNN, and others, but any GVAs also now. But till the GDP is actually felt by the common man, the real sense of economic development growth cannot take place, because every citizen of a country needs to be part and parcel of that economic growth. And that's when we can start feeling we're not looking at only big companies and stock exchanges tremendously rising and creating that growth for a short term and giving bursts to the GDP numbers, and the poorer becoming poorer and the richest becoming richer, is not the way we look at financial development and economic growth. When we talk of financial development, it is a holistic picture which we're looking at, and that's what her work actually brings forth. I would really like to thank Professor Tripathi to have taken her time out, have to consider that she speaks on some of her research work, because that is something which we really appreciate. Not many people want to talk about their research work. They are ready to talk about general topics and give general speeches and, very generic based on whatever they're teaching in their universities. But many of them don't want to talk about their research work, because even making presentations of the research work actually means reliving the research and talking of the intricacies, and then there can be some contradictory remarks or questions which can always be there. So that is always there, which happens. So very few researchers are willing to actually talk about their research work than general perspectives of what is happening. And I'm very happy that she did decide to actually base her talk on her research work, her recent research work, which we feel proud of having published it. The journal is fairly well reached out. We are indexed by Scopus, ABDC, some of the other almost 37 plus agencies around the country and the world index the journal. So it has a fairly wide reach, and I am proud to say that, in fact, it is also, the studies which are published, many of them are picked up for decision making by the Government of India and various other governments and agencies which have happened in the past. So we have listed some of them in various brochures and websites, but there are a large number of studies which have actually got the face of light when it comes to decision making by Government of India and various other governments in the past. And that is something which we feel proud of at the journal, that we are able to take the research of professors like Professor Tripathi and even from other smaller universities, institutions across the country and across the globe to a larger audience to make decision making. Just to give a few seconds, just to know, people know that where we all get indexed in. This is some places which we are indexed in. I think proudly say to the fact that hardly any journal in the whole country or even in Asia is indexed by over 37 agencies worldwide, including about 12 UGCs we know in different countries and academies of sciences which have indexed Finance India for the purpose of promotion of faculty and the giving recognition to even doctoral students' works which have taken place. So, and this is something which we feel proud of because it's been developed over 35 years. And as you can see, this is some of the impact factors. In fact, the impact factor for SGIF is now 8.26, which ranks it at the 4th position again out of 22,000 journals now, which is there for the current 2021 year. So I thought I'll just brief through. These are some of the key studies which in fact brought. This study was published with Florida International University in Finance India way back in 93-94, which came as the headline news of Times of India. That was the first news. When you open a newspaper, on the top, this study was there on Capital Flight. And in the Hindustan Times, it was there on the first page itself, but not the first study. It was the second or third study on the first page of Hindustan Times, but Times of India was the lead study. And this brought out the Money Laundering Act, the FEMA which was created, and then later on the Money Laundering Act, after the Parliament of India consulted us and the professors in Florida International University who conducted this study to finally go forward. So this is one of them. Then there are, I would say, almost about 40 plus studies which we know of, based on which Government of India and other international agencies have taken decision on, from published in Finance India. And I hope what Professor Tripathi has said in her work will also reach the right-minded people in the government, and they will look at her work and look at her findings and take a decision to bring in the right course of action, which is desired for the economic growth and financial development of India. So with that, I would like to, thank Professor Tripathi to take our time. I would request her to spare her time in the future also to present some of her works. We would like research works to be taken at a global forum. We hold some international conferences now on the online platform, virtual platform. In fact, we have held 2 of them in the past, and almost about 62 plus countries, and over 120 professors and scholars have presented their works, spoken at these conferences, 3-day conferences, and we'll be holding one, I think, on the end of October or in November. We will request her to spare some time and maybe present some of her research of this or some other research work, if possible, at one of these conferences as our session keynote speaker. We will send a formal invitation for that, but we will request her to spare her time and educate the audience and researchers and professors from all over the world who can benefit from her work. Thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you, Professor Agrawal. Thank you, Professor Agrawal. Definitely.
Thank you, Professor Panda. Thank you, Saurabh, for giving us this opportunity, and to everybody who was patiently listening. We had more than 140 plus participants who have attended so far, because some came and some left. But then we had consistently, and even now, as you can see, about 70 plus people are there. None of them, in fact, except for one or two, most of them are not our students. So it's people from across the country and across overseas who have joined us today to attend your conference today. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Panda. Thank you, Professor Saurabh. Thank you, Professor Saurabh, for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you, because it is a virtual platform. It is not able to meet each other. But anyhow, I could see some of the participants are here, and some of the known participants are here. I'm very happy to see them also here. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, Professor Panda. Thank you, Professor Saurabh. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. And now,
shall I leave? Professor Saurabh, shall I leave?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. The meeting is officially over. I just want to make one announcement that next week we are going to have Professor Sheetal Kapoor, Professor, Department of Commerce, Kamra Nehru College, University of Delhi, speak on Consumer Protection Act 2019. Can you please enable my screen sharing? Screen sharing. Also, we will be speaking will be Mrs. Manisha Arora, who is IIF alumni and Universal Crown Director at Prestige Marketing Private Limited. It will be held on 24th September 2021, again 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. With this, I would like to formally end this meeting. Thank you all for joining. The meeting is officially ended. Thank you.